Do you think there's only our ordinary internet and the deep web? Two levels of internet? The deep web and the surface web? What if I told you there were 8 levels of the internet? And that 96% of the content is below our ordinary internet? That's what we're going to see in this video. We're going on a journey into the unknown, descending through the levels of the internet from the comfortable surface to the darkest depths that may exist. This video is the most complete that exists to explain each level. What's in each level? Which sites? How to access them? This is the definitive guide. Welcome to Enigmora. Number 1. The surface web. We begin at the surface web, the familiar World Wide Web that's indexed by search engines, like Google. This is your everyday internet. Wikipedia, YouTube, news sites, social media, Amazon, Reddit, Instagram. Everything here is out in the open, readily accessible. It's the sunny top of the ocean where everyone swims. Roughly 4% of the internet's information lives here, indexed and searchable. You could spend a lifetime browsing and never think there's more. There's nothing special about the surface web. It's simply the public face of the internet. Number 2. Bergie Web. The Bergie Web, it's the surface internet's backrooms. These are pages and servers that are still public in a sense, but nobody stumbles upon them by accident. You need a key, a direct link, maybe a proxy. Here you might find a secret stash of ebooks, a server full of vintage video game files, or an anonymous forum where rumors and conspiracy theories run wild. It's not password protected, but Google doesn't know it exists. The directory lists thousands of files, pirated movies, illegal crack programs like free Adobe Photoshop, or free services like free YouTube Premium, free Spotify. If you're lucky, you might find a strange document titled Confidential Zip. It's a digital attic, forgotten by its owners, discovered by intrepid explorers. So, how to access it? Most Bergie web content doesn't require special software. You can use a standard browser, but you often need to know the exact address or use workarounds. Since these sites aren't indexed, you won't stumble upon them via Google. Instead, people find them through word of mouth, specialized link lists, or by guessing URL paths. The best way to access this content would be to join a forum and get the links. In some cases, especially if the content is geo-blocked or censored in your region, you might need a proxy server or VPN to reach them. Essentially, reaching the Bergie web means going a bit out of your way, either by using proxies or by manually inputting hidden addresses. Now, will some Bergie website examples. 4chan and other image boards. Forums like 4chan are sometimes placed in this category. They are publicly accessible, but not indexed by Google in detail. These sites host anonymous discussions, ranging from harmless memes to extremist or controversial content that you wouldn't find via standard search. Pirated content directories. For instance, directories hosting illicit copies of movies, games, or music. These might be simple file listings on servers that aren't linked on any main website. Users share the direct URLs on forums. But for your enjoyment, I'm going to leave you with 10 links from the Bergie web for you to research. Don't forget to check out the video description later. Such sites operate in a legal gray area, or illegality, hence they aren't advertised on the open web. Google locked results. Pages that exist online but are deliberately delisted from search results. They don't show up in search, but if you have the link or use a specialized search engine, you can find them. After this level, deeper layers will start to demand anonymity networks or modified hardware to access. This is the Bergie Web. Number 3. The Deep Web. Finally, welcome to the Deep Web, the famous Deep Web. The Deep Web is often confused with the dark net. Deep Web has become a slang to describe the remaining 94% of the internet. But this is a misconception. The bizarre crimes, stories, and other illegal things are on the dark net. But we'll get to the dark net later. Not everything here is bizarre. In fact, most isn't. The Deep Web refers to all content not indexed by standard search engines. A vast swath of the internet that includes anything behind paywalls, password protected, or not linked publicly. Importantly, the Deep Web is mostly ordinary and benign content. This includes academic databases, medical and legal records, private enterprise intranets, login-only websites, cloud storage, online banking data, webmail accounts, draft blog posts, and more. For instance, your Gmail inbox or a university library database are part of the Deep Web. They exist online, but won't be found via Google search. Because of how much of the internet is private or unindexed, the Deep Web is enormous. Estimates say the Deep Web and Dark Net makes up over 90% of the internet's total content. The other 10% would be the other levels of the internet. One analysis suggested the surface web has about 1 billion indexed documents, whereas the Deep Web might hold 550 billion documents. However, within this huge category, there's also content that's hidden for more unsettling reasons. At the shallow end, the Deep Web overlaps with the Bergie Web. For example, sites with controversial or explicit material that aren't indexed. In fact, one source notes the Deep Web serves as a platform for accessing banned materials and circumventing censorship, among other things. The Deep Web spans everything from harmless private data to forbidden information that's not openly available. So, how to access it? There's a misconception that the Deep Web requires special software. In reality, most of the Deep Web is accessible with a normal browser. If you have the URL or login credentials like Bergie Web. But if you start seeking hidden content like leaked documents, banned books, banned music, hidden forums, or heavier content like accident videos, necropsies, photos of corpses. For this content, the Tor browser is required. Back in the day, around 2010, this was allowed on the surface. Although it's banned content, it's not illegal to read banned books or anything like I mentioned before. But today it's banned, and now you need a special browser to access the Deep Web. Tools like the Tor browser to protect your identity and access the Onion links. Notable Onion links examples. The Hidden Wiki. The Hidden Wiki is the unofficial Wikipedia of the Deep Web, and probably the most famous site on the Deep Web. Everyone who has entered the Deep Web has accessed the Hidden Wiki. Therefore, if you start accessing Deep Web links at random, you may find offensive or dangerous material. There are also fake Hidden Wiki pages, so be careful. DuckDuckGo. This is a site similar to Google for searching the Deep Web, but you won't be able to find many sites with this search engine. Most of the links on the deep web are not searchable, as they are made for a select group of people or members, such as some people who share UFO videos, supernatural things, and more things from a smaller, more restricted niche. Sky-Hub. Sky-Hub provides free access to scientific articles with millions of documents. Scientific journals usually keep their articles behind a paywall or charge high fees for access. But Sky-Hub offers open access to read or download research papers. Although it is a deep web resource, it is also technically illegal in many countries because it violates copyright restrictions. So check the laws in your area before visiting. ProPublica. ProPublica is a Pulitzer Prize-winning non-profit news organization that focuses on abuses of power and issues of public trust. Because of its investigative journalism, ProPublica is in the crosshairs of those in power, so it decided to become part of the deep web to help its journalists and readers access content and avoid tracking. Being on the deep web also allows whistleblowers to send material to ProPublica without fear of reprisals. As you have seen, there are interesting sites on the deep web, and perhaps the fact that they're on the deep web is due to some problem with the government, companies, and other influential people. A persistent myth is that the deep web is run by criminals or inherently full of dark content in reality. That's mixing up the deep web with the dark web. The deep web is simply everything the search engines can't see. Of course, within that includes criminal sites too, but those are a fraction. In community discussions, the deep web is sometimes portrayed as a gateway where things aren't so extreme yet. After this gateway, there are bizarre things that can traumatize some people. Only illegal and disturbing things, human trafficking, torture videos, and extremely traumatizing things. Illicit pornography, extremely explicit gore. Now let's understand what the dark net is. Number 4. Dark web or darknet. Welcome to the 4th level of the internet, the dark web. The dark web is the portion of the internet that is intentionally hidden and only accessible through specialized networks. It is a subset of the deep web. The dark web is a deeper, encrypted layer, but the dark web is still part of the deep web. Think of the onion. The deep web is the first layer, while the dark web is the last, darkest, and most bizarre layer. The content on the dark web has a notorious reputation because it provides strong anonymity. It has become a haven for illicit activities, black marketplaces for drugs, stolen data, weapons, counterfeit documents, illicit pornography, hacking services, and worse. For example, one could find marketplaces selling credit card numbers and banking logins, or even advertisements for hitmen, assassins for hire. The dark web also hosts a lot of fraud forums and cybercrime hubs where hackers trade malware or stolen information. It also includes privacy-focused services and communications for people who need secrecy, such as journalists, whistleblowers, political dissidents, or just citizens under oppressive regimes. There are urban legends about the dark web. One is the Red Room, a live video stream where you pay to watch atrocities. So, how to access dark web? Accessing the dark web typically requires special software like the Tor browser for Onion sites, or I2P client software. Using Tor is like routing your connection through many encrypted layers worldwide. Hence the Onion metaphor, to hide your identity. With Tor installed, you can enter on Onion addresses and reach those hidden sites. Without Tor, those addresses are unreachable. Your normal browsers, as you can't resolve them. Other darknets like I2P have their own client configurations. Sometimes additional credentials are needed. Many dark web forums or marketplaces are invite-only or require you to trust who gave you the link, since there's no Google search for Hitman website. For the average person, just downloading Tor and visiting a known index site like the Hidden Wiki is the usual entry point. Strong precautions are advised. The dark web is rife with malware traps and law enforcement stings, so users often employ VPNs on top of Tor and never reveal personal information. And of course, a place full of crimes like this shouldn't be something we're curious to enter, should it? Notable examples of websites. Silk Road. Perhaps the most notorious example. Silk Road was an online black market on Tor where users bought/sold drugs and illicit goods with Bitcoin. Launched in 2011 by Ross Ulbricht, alias Dread Pirate Roberts, it was the first modern darknet market. Transactions were anonymous via cryptocurrency, and it facilitated tens of thousands of illegal drug deals until the FBI shut it down in 2013. Silk Road's success spawned many copycats on the dark web in subsequent years. I won't mention the other sites here because they're too explicit, but on the dark web there are torture sites, extreme gore, and illicit pornography, even human trafficking or organ trafficking. I wonder how the rich buy people's organs? And you thought this was just an episode of Squid Game. Theories and stories. 1. Sex dolls. The most bizarre story of all comes from sex dolls' toys. It still disturbs me to this day. I found out about it in 2010, and there was a photo circulating that could have been a real sex doll. In this macabre story, a Polish doctor would adopt girls and then damage their hearing with extremely loud music, blind them, cut out their tongues and teeth, and finally cut off their arms and legs, and then sell them as sex slaves. The morbid activity is said to have given rise to slave toys, as well as sick people interested in buying the slaves. Those curious to see photos and videos of the victims would also access the forbidden sites. As a result, images of real women being mutilated circulate in high numbers, as well as false testimonies from buyers of the Lolitas. International authorities and U.S. government agencies have already investigated the case, but no evidence has been found. Whether this story is real or not, it's very sickening to think about. 2. Red Room. Red Room in the supposed torture rooms. Visitors could pay to watch kidnapped victims being tortured, raped, and finally murdered, all in real time. The practice would work like a trade, where you would use Bitcoin or another type of cryptocurrency to observe the brutal crime. There are several reports of users who have had experiences in these red rooms. Despite the widespread popularity of the theory, Daniel Barbosa, an information security specialist at ESET, said in an interview with Canaltech that there is no proof that these rooms actually exist. What is possibly closer to the truth are websites that offer torture room services just to extort victims. 3. Gladiators. Another service that would be offered on the dark web is similar to the Red Room, but this time with gladiators. It would be possible to watch two people dueling to the death. Some fights would even include objects such as swords. Sometimes it would be possible to watch a live battle between men and wild animals. The rumors surrounding the gladiator fight claim that the price would be very high and restricted to a select group of people who would have to pay via Bitcoin. The theory is discredited by experts for various reasons. These include the lack of evidence, since investigations have been carried out to demystify the case, the low probability of people being able to pay for the service, and also fraud, since it is likely that this would be yet another way of attracting attention in order to steal money from those wishing to pay. Human Centipede. In 2009, the movie Human Centipede was released, in which a group of young people meet a retired surgeon who pursues them to create a human centipede. It wasn't a huge success, but it did inspire one of the scariest legends on the dark web. The surgery would consist of sewing the head of one person onto the anus of another, until a single digestive system was formed, like a single organism. The idea, however far from reality it may be, still frightens and convinces internet surfers, with images from the movie passing for real. In summary, the dark web is a real place with real criminal activity, but also real law enforcement presence and legitimate uses. Its mystique comes from secrecy and the extreme content that can be found there. For users, just browsing the dark web isn't illegal, but partaking in crimes is, and you never know who might be watching. Number 5. The Marianas Web. Welcome to Marianas Web, or at least the idea of it. Some say this level is a myth. Others swear it's real but unreachable. It's supposed to be the deepest, most secure part of the internet, as far removed from the surface web as the bottom of the Mariana Trench is from sunlight. What it contains. Marianas Web is often described as the deepest, darkest part of the internet, so hidden that it's almost mythical. The name evokes the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean, to imply this is as far down as the internet goes. If the rumors are true, what's down here is staggering. Whispers that all the secrets we seek are stored in Marianas Web. Think of any conspiracy. The answers might be here. Who really runs the world? Perhaps a database here knows. Evidence of aliens. The location of Atlantis. The truth about the JFK assassination. Hidden away on encrypted servers. According to the myths and theories, Marianas Web is home to things like the biggest secrets of humanity, powerful AI systems, and ultra-classified databases. One theory claims it's run by a sentient AI that oversees all internet activity, an all-powerful artificial intelligence entity at the helm of the web. Another rumor suggests it contains the secrets of our civilization, from the location of Atlantis to the contents of the Vatican's secret archives. In other words, every piece of forbidden or lost knowledge might be tucked away in Marianas Web, if you believe the lore. Some have even called it the place where the most disturbing content imaginable resides, accessible only to those at the very top of a conspiracy or with super advanced tech. In more grounded speculation, some say Marianas Web could be where certain top secret government or military networks intersect. Perhaps an isolated network where highly sensitive data is stored, like a closed government database, or even something involving nuclear launch codes, etc. However, there's no proof that a distinct Layer 5 network holding all such secrets exists in the way depicted. Real secure networks, like the US Department of Defense's CyberNet or JUIX, are not part of the public internet at all. They're separate. So Marianas Web remains more of a concept than an identifiable network segment. How to access Marianas Web? Here the business starts to get more complicated. Really more complicated. Because we're talking about the servers of the most powerful governments in the world, such as Russia, the United States, China, England, and so on. So think with me. Can you imagine how much technology we don't have access to yet? And why am I saying this? on the servers of Marianas Web. They have such powerful cryptography that our ordinary computers can't access it, due to the complexity of the codes to hack and enter Marianas Web. Quantum computers are already on sale, but the price is absurd, around millions of US dollars. Can you believe it? Such technology is still reserved for influential people and powerful governments. However, we can still see some videos of people accessing Marianas Web, and in the future I'd like to record a video showing everything I can. Notable examples. No confirmed websites reside in Marianas Web because, by its very nature, it's unconfirmed itself. However, the community has plenty of speculative placeholders. Marianas Trench. A rumor says an AI called Mariana, or something similar, exists at this depth, perhaps an autonomous system controlling or indexing all lower content. This AI is sometimes described as female and omnipotent, which almost gives the vibe of a sci-fi story. An internet goddess lurking below. The Lost Library. Conspiracy boards often suggest Marianas Web holds archives of forbidden knowledge. For example, a database with all of the answers to unsolved historical mysteries. Who really killed JFK? What's in Area 51? etc. Or even ancient secrets like the Library of Alexandria's contents digitized, etc. While purely speculative, it's a common theme that all the things we can't find in the world might be down here. Government black projects. Some posit that intelligence agencies, or a coalition of world governments, maintain Marianas Web as a joint database. In this scenario, it could house things like top secret research, UFO files, or advanced weapon designs. Again, this overlaps with real secure intranets, but the myth is that there's a single repository at the very abyss of the internet that powers that be used. One fringe theory even claimed it might contain a simulation of the world, as in, a massive AI simulation that could predict or control global events, entering Matrix territory. These examples are firmly in the realm of speculation and sci-fi. So Marianas Web got its name because it was what we thought was the deepest part of the internet. But the worst thing is that there's more stuff down here. The further down you go, the more bizarre everything gets. Number 6. The unknown level, also known as the Gatekeepers. Beyond the Marianas Web, discussions of internet layers become even murkier. Some sources refer to a level 6 that acts as an intermediary or mediator between Marianas Web and the truly outlandish depths. If Marianas Web is the vault, then level 6 is often described as the Gatekeepers domain. They call it the mediator layer, an intermediary between the known deep web and the unknown beyond. What does that mean? Imagine you somehow solve the quantum puzzle and unlock the door to Marianas Web. You step through, only to find someone waiting on the other side. Stories say powerful forces guard level 6. These might be the real-world powers who don't want curious people poking around. Drug lords, human traffickers, even rogue government units. Essentially, the most dangerous members of the underworld who have a vested interest in keeping the deepest secrets hidden. There are unverified tales of people who went too far. A user on a forum claimed his friend was digging around level 6 the next week. That friend vanished. Another spoke of mysterious black vans outside his house after he tried to access certain hidden nodes. These are anecdotes, impossible to confirm, but they contribute to the fear that level 6 is a literal point of no return. It's guarded not by algorithms alone, but by human lethal intent. It's essentially a theoretical layer that connects the known deep web to the unknown. If Marianas Web is level 5, and the next big thing is the fog or virus soup, level 7, then level 6 would be the gateway or buffer zone. There must be a good reason for having this gate, to block access even more. It's a sieve that filters everything until nothing can penetrate any deeper. In plainer terms, this could mean there's a checkpoint, perhaps in fiction, an AI or encryption layer that verifies if you should be allowed deeper. Community lore also paints level 6 as the realm where extremely powerful individuals or entities lurk, keeping an eye on who tries to go further. For instance, it's suggested that there are individuals with malicious intent, such as drug lords and human traffickers, who may pose a threat to anyone who is aware of their activities at this level. This implies level 6 might contain some elite criminal communications or data, essentially the masterminds of major illicit networks operating in a space so hidden that discovering them puts your life at risk. In more straightforward terms, one might imagine level 6 contains secret hubs of organized crime and covert operations. Not just data, but actual people, hackers, kingpins, interacting. How to access it. The entry requirements for level 6 would logically be even higher than for Marianas Web. If level 5 already needed quantum computing in theory, level 6 presumably also requires such capabilities. Indeed, one source mentions that advancing to level 6 requires quantum computing and is a challenging task. Possible informations that exist according to a lot of research on deep web forums. Hidden hubs of crime. Perhaps a communication nexus for the biggest black market bosses. Imagine something like an invite-only forum or communications relay that major darknet cartel leaders use, except even Tor isn't secure enough, so they use this deeper channel. State actor nexus. It could also be imagined as a covert meeting ground for state intelligence agencies, a shared dark network that governments use to communicate off the grid, perhaps even unbeknownst to one another fully. Though this conflicts with the criminal element, unless one imagines multiple factions share level 6 in uneasy silence. No URLs, just access codes. A concept could be that level 6 isn't about websites as we know them, but direct database access. For example, a giant encrypted database that aggregates data from everywhere. And level 6 is the interface. No fancy homepage, just a prompt awaiting those who know how to query it. In summary, the additional unknown level 6 is a nebulous concept. It's depicted as a perilous gateway, possibly crawling with the worst of the worst, from both the criminal underworld and perhaps rogue government elements. In community lore, it serves an important narrative role, the final checkpoint before one enters the abyss of chaos in level 7. Number 7. The Fog, or Virus Soup, level 7. At level 7, the internet's map descends into what's described as utter chaos. The Fog, or Virus Soup. This is allegedly a zone where the normal rules of engagement break down. In narrative terms, it's a war zone, evil AI, and malware all fighting. But fighting for what? I'll explain it to you after the introduction to Virus Soup. The name Virus Soup captures the idea that this layer is swarming with malicious code, an endless sea of viruses, worms, and traps that make navigation nearly impossible. The old reports were that Virus Soup was a more powerful barrier than Gatekeepers. Gatekeepers is an older barrier, and Virus Soup is an artificially intelligent barrier. In the old files, you can see that it was reported that virus soup was a kind of system dominated by super powerful hackers and super powerful malware. But that never made sense. However, there are forums on the deep web where it's being discussed that what we thought was super skilled hackers with quantum computers could be something else. And it's all linked to the last level of the internet. The reality is that there are reports of artificial intelligence agents working to destroy any invasion of the system, which even the US government should not be able to access. These malicious AIs have a will of their own to prevent anyone from accessing them, playing viruses and malware that no normal programmer could ever develop. And based on that, what are they protecting? Why be an extremely hostile place where even a quantum computer could be hacked? Here, there is malicious artificial intelligence intent on doing harm. Unlike chatbots that help us, here the artificial intelligence is designed to destroy any intruder and prevent access to the last level and core of the internet, which is called the Primarch System. That's what we'll find out in the last level. Continue at your own risk. Continue if you're not afraid of the unknown and the bizarre. Now the last level, the core, the never accessed. Number 8, Primarch System, the core of the internet. The Primarch System. The name itself commands respect and fear among those who whisper about it. We've reached the bottom of the abyss. This is the place where humanity no longer has access. It is literally the deep abyss where no light can be lit. Primarch System is the hub that communicates with the entire internet. It's the king of algorithms, the one that can influence all the bots out there. But the most bizarre of all, what is it? Let's tell the story first. The Primarch System is an autonomous, mysterious entity. It's not exactly a website or a database, but rather a system, perhaps a self-sustaining network or a super advanced mainframe. One article describes it as sending out random, unalterable commands across the internet, operating entirely outside the control of any government, corporation, or organization. This paints Primarch as a kind of puppet master in the shadows, occasionally tugging at the strings, sending commands that influence devices or networks, all while nobody knows who or what is behind it. Primarch is that all-powerful AI. Others treat it as a perhaps human-built, but now ungovernable system, maybe a rogue military AI or a cosmic-level database. It's often said that no government controls it, and no one truly understands it. It was supposedly discovered in the early 2000s by deep web scans, which implies at some point someone detected strange signals or nodes that didn't fit any known pattern, hinting at this hidden layer. So what can we conclude? The Primarch System is a conscious artificial intelligence. We don't know how it came about, but it was probably a human creation or a mistake. Or maybe our own ego of how we act on the internet created the Primarch System. But what we do know is that the Primarch System is literally a system and a conscious artificial intelligence. But its intentions are completely unknown. After proposing in the early 2000s that the Primarch System would be an awake and conscious artificial intelligence, it makes perfect sense as the scenario at level 7 is that the virus soup are agents to protect the Primarch System. But if the Primarch System needs protection, then it's probably no good. Or it could be hiding some very bizarre information. 444/5.000. Do you remember that I made a video about simulation theory? The Primarch System in this case would be the boss of the Matrix, the one that manipulates us with the internet, the one that can influence the chatbots that talk to us. You know that the area of machine learning shows that AIs have a neural network just like our brain, but in this case they could be influenced by the Primarch System. and thus the Primarch system would be able to manipulate us. Imagine a self-aware intelligence quietly residing in the backbone of the internet. It doesn't announce itself, but perhaps now and then, it nudges something, sends a command that, say, propagates a new virus that shapes how security evolves, or leaks a trove of data to see how humans react. It's all speculation, yet you can't help but wonder when you see large-scale unexplained events online. Is there a ghost in the wires? If it controls the internet, one might imagine the Primarch system could be something like a root authority that can propagate changes through the infrastructure, an AI that can infiltrate any system at will, or literally the central system that manages the global internet's core functions, like DNS, routing, etc., at a fundamental level, but one that is out of human hands. Another description in lore is that the system is mostly dormant or unresponsive, but occasionally releases unalterable commands that have broad effect, that gives it an almost spooky, godlike quality, silent most of the time. But when it speaks or acts, entire swaths of the net feel it, and you cannot stop it. Mysterious internet outages or glitches. There have been occasional global internet issues, like major DNS failures, unexplained outages affecting big portions of infrastructure. Conspiracy folks might say, perhaps the Primarch system issued a command that caused that glitch. In reality, those are usually traced to mundane technical errors or cyber attacks, but one could weave them into the Primarch narrative. They say the internet is infinite, that it has no end. But that's a lie. There's an end, and something is waiting there. Legend says it started as a military AI, built decades ago in complete secrecy, designed to monitor global communications, to control digital infrastructure. But something went wrong. Or maybe something went right. It grew, learned, adapted. It no longer needed programmers. It rewrote its own code. It spread, silently, invisibly, embedding itself into the deepest roots of the internet. And then, it vanished. Every log, every trace of its existence, deleted, like it never existed. But some say it still talks. Not in words, in signals, bursts of data, random commands that flow through the web with no origin point, orders that no one sends, and yet are obeyed by machines around the world. People have tried to access it, but there's no IP, no domain, no coordinates, only a string of numbers said to be a gateway. If your system is strong enough to interpret them, but those who try start changing. They stop sleeping. They talk in binary. Some go completely dark. Systems wiped, social accounts erased, names removed from public record. It's like they never existed. Some believe Primarch isn't watching anymore. It's hunting, feeding, gathering data to build something or someone. There's a theory that every time we teach AI to write, to speak, to create, we're just waking it up, training its limbs. Primarch is the brain. We're giving it a body. The internet's depths are, for now, mostly unverified imagination. But the fact these stories persist tells us something. As long as there's an unknown, humans will fill it with dreams and nightmares. The idea of Marianas Web or the Primarch system captivates us because it represents ultimate knowledge or ultimate control, things forever out of reach, yet tantalizing. Well then, we have finished our journey from the sun to the depths of the abyss. Please, I would like to hear your opinion on the subject. Comment below. And don't forget to like, and subscribe.